We can do that in 4 different ways. 1, public fields. We already know this. 2, properties. Guys, these two you know na? 3, indexers. 4, deconstructors. Guys, read that carefully. If we want to expose the values of a class to the outside environment, we can do that in 4 different ways. What are the 4? First option is public fields. Yeah, guys, we are aware of public fields. No need to talk about it. Second option is properties. Yes, we are aware of the properties also. We discussed about it. Third option is indexers and fourth option is deconstructors. Let's talk about these 2 things right now. What are indexers and what are deconstructors? Okay, fine. Guys, watch. I'm going to define a new class here. We'll call it as test employee. Test employee. Now, guys, till now, one entity is customer, one entity is student. Array, right now we have 2 entities now. One entity is customer in the previous example. Right now I take another entity student. Now I wanted to define a class representing an entity employee, guys. My third entity is employee. Are you guys clear? Watch this code. This code is exactly same like the code what I explained to you in the customer class. Watch it. Watch this, guys. This code is exactly same as the code in the customer class. Customer class, we done this only, no? Actually, what did they say? Array, these values should come from database. These values should come from database. But right now we don't have a database now. So I'm taking static values. When we learn databases, we will take the values from the databases. When we learn about the databases, we'll be taking these values from the databases. This is what I already explained to you all. Now, guys, if you observe it, if you just observe it, the employee class is going to have 5 attributes here, also the 5 attributes, and all the 5 are initialized. All the 5 are initialized. Now I want to expose them. Now, can I create the instance of this employee here? Employee emp is equals to new employee. I'm passing 1005. Console.readline. Same problem. What is this? Using emp, you cannot access any member of the class. Using emp, you cannot access any member of the class. If you want to access, first thing what you can do, declare the fields as public. Is it a wise option? Not at all. Already discussed about it. It will give you read-write access. We don't have any control on the value. Second option, define 5 properties. Second option is define 5 properties. You know that now? Or should I show you again? You know that? I don't require to tell you now. Okay. Third option is indexer, guys. The third option is indexers. What is that indexer? What that indexer is? An indexer is a member of the class, using which we can expose the values that are associated with a class to the outside environment, just like what a property does. Guys, read that first. Understood, all of you? Okay. When an indexer is defined in the class, when an indexer is defined in the class, the class gets the behavior of an array, and we can start accessing the values of that class, by using array syntax. Read this, guys. Did you guys understand? What is a virtual array? Virtual array means it is not an array, but behaves like an array. It is not an array, but behaves like an array. Guys, there's an array with the name ARR. There's an array with the name ARR. It has 5 values in it. How do you access them? There's an array with the name ARR and 5 values are there. How do you access them? ARR of 0, ARR of 1, ARR of 2, ARR of 3, ARR of 4, right? Exactly in the same way, guys, after defining indexer in the class, you can just access the values like this: EMP of 0, EMP of 1, EMP of 2, EMP of 3, EMP of 4. You can access it like this. Array, after defining indexer, that's where right now you're getting error. Why are you getting error? Indexer is not defined. But what I'm telling is, if indexer is defined, you can start accessing the values like this. Did you catch my point, guys? Okay. Wow, this is interesting. Then how to define an indexer? Guys, watch it. Syntax to define a indexer. How do you define an indexer? Watch, guys. How do you define a property? Modifier, type, name, then get. What do we call? Guys, what we call this? Get accessor, set, and we call this as set accessor. Remember, this is what we discussed in the previous class. So we have learned about the syntax of defining a constructor, all the things we learned. Of a property, all these things we learned already. Okay, this is a syntax for a property, guys. This is a syntax for a property. And see, get and set both are optional. If only get defined read only, if only set defined write only, both are defined read write. I explained all the things. Now, guys, the syntax to define an indexer is also very similar. Only thing is, we don't have a name here. In the place of name, we say this. This means, this refers to what present here. This base we learnt na. This keyword, base keyword we learnt already na. This refers to what? Wrong answer, not class member. This refers to your class, current class. Chakravarti, perfect answer. Current class. This refers to current class. See, this dot x means member of the class, but this means class. This refers to the class, current class, this class. Okay? And then We just pass a parameter int index. We just pass a parameter int index. Guys, all of you understand this int index. What is that this int index? I'll tell you. Watch it. Watch this carefully. You'll understand. Public. I'm taking the type as object. I will tell you why I've taken the type as object. This int index. Int index. Now, guys, understand. I am defining an indexer on this class. That is the meaning of this. I am defining an indexer on this class so that object of the class starts providing access to the values. See now, you did not give a name here. This you said, means I'm defining on the current class. And you're getting access by using the object. Object is giving the access now. Whatever name you give, EMP or OBJ or XYZ or whatever you give, that is used in this particular place. Did you get it? Did you get my point? If there is a name, that name only has to be used. But here it doesn't have a name. So what name you will use? Object name will be used. What is the object name? I don't know. Whatever name you give to the object, use that there. Okay, now. Now, get. I'm writing getter. I'm writing get. Guys, see, once I do this, immediately all the errors are vanished here, see? Wow, yeah, why? Because you started writing an indexer in the code. Now tell me, if at all you say EMP of 0, what it has to return you? Answer me, guys. If you say EMP of 0, what it has to return you? Employee number, right? EMP of 1. EMP of 1. Employee name. EMP of 2. Employee job. Salary. Status. Okay, now. Okay. Now means if you pass 0, number should come. If you pass 1, name should come. If you pass 2, job should come. If you pass 3, salary should come. If you pass 4, status should come. Are you clear? Guys, watch. Watch the code. If index is equals to 0, return underscore e number. Else if index is equals to 1, return underscore name. Else if index is equals to 2, return underscore job. Else if index is equals to 4, return underscore salary. I'm sorry, guys, 3, not 4. Else if index is equals to 4, return underscore status. Else return null. What does it else return null? If at all you give any value outside the boundaries, like a 0, 1, 2, apart from that you give 5 or 6 or something, it returns null. Are you guys clear? Means understand the beauty of an indexer, guys. Understand the beauty of an indexer. If you want to write a property, for 5, you require to write 5 properties. If you want to go with a property, for 5 attributes, you require to define 5 properties now, right or not? But here, one indexer can manage everything for you. Okay, now see, employee number integer, name string, job string, salary double, status boolean. Are they returning the same value or different values? That is why I take an object here. That is why I take an object here. In the starting classes I explained, you see, if you want to return int, we'll take int. If you want to return, I'll take string. To return double, I'll take double. But if I want to return a different type of value, then we use object. Are you clear? Because object is capable of holding any type of value. So when object is used, anything. Now see guys, execute the code and see. Sorry guys, I did not set the startup object. Test employee. And see, one thing I'll tell you. No, you can give whatever name you want. See, one thing I'll tell you. If you feel like confusion with the zero-based indexes, the zero-based index is always confusing, sir. If I want to get the 13th value, I should say 12. Always it is a bit confusing for me. So I just wanted to start with my own value. I want to start with 1. Okay, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now come to the getter. And you can also write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Array, this is your code here. Because this is your code, it's your choice. Suppose you want to get the values as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Give it. You want to get the access like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Give it here. And not only that, I'll tell you another thing also. See, watch it. This is not int index. To make you understand, I said you int index. First time I'm writing to make you. What is this, Parameter list. You can use any type. I can use any type. Yeah, I can use any type. What I mean to say is, guys, observe it. Observe this. Now, in the place of int index, I'm now writing string name. String name. What is this? I can implement my code if name is equals to employee number, return underscore emp number. If name is equals to name, if name is equals to job, if name is equals to salary, if name is equals to status. I can write like this as my requirement. What did you do? Overloaded indexes. Overloaded indexes. You can access it by passing an int index value, or you can access it by passing the string name also. Observe it, guys. I'm adding a line break here. See, all of you? Observe it. Indexer overloading. 2 are there. One takes int index. Second one takes string name. Second one takes string name. Now I can just pass employee number, name, job, salary, status. Got it, see? See guys, I can also write an indexer. I can also write an indexer which takes a character. Suppose if I pass A, it should get me employee number. B, name. C, job. D, salary. E, status. Did you understand me? Sir, can I use a double value? Yeah, you can use a double value. I want to pass 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 should give me the value. Write it. It's your choice, guys. It's your choice. I hope you understood me. You can write any number of indexers in the code. Overloading of the indexers. Remember, 5 overloadings are there. Till now, we learned 3 overloadings. What are the 5? Method overloading, operator overloading, constructor overloading, indexer overloading, deconstructor overloading. Already method overloading, constructor overloading, operator overloading you learned. Now this is indexer overloading. So can I write a third indexer in my code now? Any number you can write, no problem. But guys, whenever you're trying to use, listen to me carefully. Whenever you're trying to use, sorry guys, whenever you're trying to use um, string and character indexes. Last class I said you one point, remember? What is that? Conditional checks are case sensitive. Conditional checks are case sensitive. Because conditional checks are case sensitive, tomorrow, by mistake, if at all I give a wrong value like this, I won't get the output, see? Name and salary are not fetching. Why? Because you entered in a lowercase here and you entered in a uppercase here. How to resolve it? To resolve this problem, when you're implementing the logic, do one thing. What is it? What is this? This is a user given value. What will come here? User given value. What will come here? User given value. Convert the user given value into uppercase. Convert the user given value into uppercase and compare with an uppercase value, or convert the user given value into lowercase and compare with a lowercase value. Choice is yours here. Either convert it to uppercase and compare with an uppercase value, or convert into your lowercase and compare with a lowercase value. Because I'm converting into uppercase, I'm comparing with an uppercase value. See now, when I write the code like this, now here, whatever case you give, it works. We both are getting. Why? Because see here, I'm writing like this, J lowercase, O uppercase, B lowercase. Still I will get, guys. Because first I'm converting the whole value into uppercase and afterwards I'm comparing it with the uppercase value. Understood all of you? To resolve case sensitive issues, this is how the coding has to be implemented. Okay, next. Look here. I wanted to modify the job now. I'm writing EMP of 3 is equals to senior manager. I'm writing EMP of 3 is equals to senior manager. But this is an error. This is an error. Why this is an error? Because you defined only a get accessor in the code. You did not write a set accessor. You written only a get accessor in the code. You did not write a set accessor. So your indexer is read only. Your indexer is read only. Guys, read it. Yesterday, do you remember when we read this error yesterday? It shown you property or indexer, and I said you are ignore indexer. We'll talk tomorrow. I said you remember. See, what is it telling you? Property or indexer? What the meaning? Both are same, guys. Both are same only. A property or indexer. Okay? Cannot be assigned to. It is read only. Why? You did not write a setter in the code. If you don't write a setter in the code, this won't work. Same way here, I will say EMP of salary, guys. EMP of salary is equals to 30,000. I'm writing. Now, this is also error. This is also going to be error. This is also an error. Both are errors. Both are read only. So shall I write a setter so that you can assign values? Shall we write a setter so that we can assign the values? Come on, guys. Let's write a setter there. How do you write? Watch carefully. Set. Same again. If index is equals to 1, underscore e number is equals to int of value. Did you understand why did I write like that? The value is which type? Yeah, value is object type. Yeah, value is object type. Because value is object type, I require to convert into integer. So int of. Type conversion, typecasting. You're doing a type conversion by using a typecasting. Next. Else if index is equals to 2, underscore name is equals to string of value. Else if index is equals to 3, underscore job is equals to string of value. Else if index is equals to 4, underscore salary is equals to double of value. Else if index is equals to 5, underscore status is equals to bool of value. Are you clear, guys? With this, there is no error in the first case now. With this, there is no error in the first case. There is error in the second case. Why? Because you added the setter only to the int indexer. You require to add it to the string indexer also. Because here I used int indexer. This will work now. This won't work. So I need to do for a second one also. Copy this code as it is. Pasting it here. Let me convert. See, what did I say? For avoiding the case sensitive problems, either convert into uppercase and compare with an uppercase value, or convert into lowercase and compare with a lowercase value. I said no. In the previous case, I converted to uppercase. Now I'm converting it to lowercase. It's my choice here. I can write whatever I want. Enum. Here I'm doing a conversion to lowercase and comparing with lowercase value. Name, job, salary, status. Watch, guys, it should run. Are you clear? Now you got the modified value. See, manager change it to senior manager, 25,000 change it to 30,000. Are you clearer, guys? So if you want, you write a character indexer, you write a double indexer. Choice is yours. I want to write a character indexer, write it. I want to write a double indexer, write it. Whatever you want, you write it. No issue. Okay, now? So generally, in which type of scenarios we go for using indexers, In which type of scenarios we go for indexers is tomorrow, all of you understand. You're working with a database, guys. You're working with a database. In a database, we'll be having rows and columns. We'll be having rows and columns. A table will be having rows and columns. Do we know the number of columns in a table? Do we know the number of columns in the table? Very brainless fellows. Without knowing the number of columns in the table, how will you work with the table here? You don't know the number of columns there, then how will you work with the table? Did you understand me? Without knowing the number of columns in the table, how will you work with the table here? You should know. You should know the number of columns in the table first. And also every column has a name, na? Yes or not? Okay. Do you know the number of rows in a table? Yeah, no is now right. Amit, you never know, yaar. You never know the number of rows in a table. How do you know? Today 100 rows will be there, tomorrow 200 rows will be there, next day 150 rows can be there. We never know the number of rows in the table. We only know the number of columns in the table. So do every row has a name? Do a row have a name? Understand, tomorrow when you are accessing the values from a database table, If you want to refer to a row, you require to refer to the row by using its index only. Agree with me? Yes or not? That is the scenario here where indexers will come into picture. Remember this, when we go to database programming, in web, when we go to database programming in web, there you will be learning how do we access the row values by using the indexers. There you will be learning how you will be accessing the row values by using the indexes. Are you clear, guys? When you don't know the number, you cannot define properties. When you don't know the number, you cannot define the properties. You're required to go with indexer only. Okay? So that is the scenario where the indexers comes into picture. Okay, guys. Clear? Any doubts with any of the three? Public fields, properties, indexers. Last, deconstructors. The last one is deconstructors. Okay? Deconstructor is a member of the class which is introduced in 7.0 version of C#. I repeat, guys, deconstructor is a member of the class which is introduced in 7.0 version of C#. They're introduced in C# 7.0, guys. And by using these deconstructors, we can provide destructor. If it works like a destructor, why you need a deconstructor again? Using these deconstructors, we can provide access to the values of a class to the outside environment, but only read-only access. Guys, read that carefully. Destructor is to release the memory. Destructors are not for providing access to the values. Destructors are for releasing the memory. Sriram. Mr. Sriram BTech. Stop the video. Sorry. Are you guys clear? Come on, understood that point? These are introduced in C# 7.0 and they will be giving you access to the values, but only read-only access here, not read-write access. Tomorrow in any scenario, if you want to give only read-only access to the value, we can use the deconstructors. If you want to give only read-only access to the value, we can use these deconstructors. Okay? A deconstructor is a method with the name deconstruct. With the name deconstruct. A deconstructor is a method. Just a minute, guys. This is about the indexers, what I explained you. You can just go through it. And guys, all of you watch it. I have defined a int indexer for you and I defined a char indexer for you. In the classroom, I shown you int and string, but here I defined a int and char. Can you write a string indexer? In the printout, I given you int and char. Can you try a string indexer? Guys, are you alive? When I'm asking you the question, don't you respond? Okay. So I defined a int indexer and I defined a char indexer. So you people try writing a string indexer, guys. I already shown you in the classroom. You try writing a string indexer in your particular code. Okay, na? Fine. You tried it. Okay. Now coming back, a deconstructor is a method here with the name deconstructor. Okay. And the code in this method will be opposite to the code we write in a constructor. That is, through a constructor, we bring values into the class. And by using a deconstructor, we send values out of the class. Guys, read that point, all of you. See, using a constructor, we bring values into the class now. Using a deconstructor, we'll be sending the values out of the class, guys. We will be sending the values out of the class. Okay, I'll explain you. Watch. Now I wanted to define you another class here. Now my entity is a teacher, guys. Now my entity is a teacher. Test teacher. See guys, from the last 2 days, I'm defining the classes in the same pattern. Customer, student, employee, teacher. These are different entities now. Are you clear? Different entities. Now every teacher has some attributes now. Okay. Attributes of a teacher. Can I initialize these attributes through a constructor? Public teacher. Look guys. Int ID. String name. Subject. String name. String subject. String designation, double salary. What is the logic you write here? This dot ID is equals to ID. This dot name is equals to name. This dot subject is equals to subject. This dot designation is equals to designation. And this dot salary is equals to salary. That's it now. You learned this code now. I did not tell you anything newly now. Are you guys clear? So whenever I create an instance, all the fields are initialized. Now guys, now watch. What is the deconstructor? All of you, carefully look. A deconstructor will take the values out of the class. How do you write a deconstructor? I said you it's a method. It is a method. So basically, it's a non-value returning method, guys. It's a method, so we use void, and the name of the method is deconstruct. The name of the method is deconstruct, and every parameter of the method will be an output parameter, not input parameter. Every parameter is going to be an output parameter, not an input parameter. Guys, observe it. All are output parameters. Okay. And what you write the code now, the code is the reverse code. ID is equals to this dot ID. The code is reverse, guys. Did you understand the code? That only I said you, yeah. The code will be in the reverse. Just the reverse code, that's all. Now again read this last point here. Again read this point, all of you. Understood, everyone? No confusions now? It's a method, yeah. It's a method. Method should have void now. It is a method. Method should be specifying that compulsory. Now come here. Static void main. Create the instance now. Create the instance. How? Teacher. Okay, guys. Just instance creation only now. I'll copy paste the code. Simple, fine. Look, guys, I created an instance. But guys, using this instance, I cannot access the values. Same problem. Using this instance, I cannot access the values. Same problem. See that the values are not accessible. None of. Okay. So I want to give an access. Guys, I want to give an access. Option number one, property. Sorry, public field. Option number two, property. Option number three, indexer. All the three you learned. Option number four is deconstructor. How do you access the values? Watch it, guys. How do you access the value? Int ID, string name, string subject, string designation, double salary is equals to obj. That's it. This is how we access the values, guys. Are you clear? This is how we access the values. All the values are just going to be returned to you. And you see, I'm just printing the values to you on screen. Yes, teacher. See, guys, this one is mainly used. This one is mainly used only. This one is mainly used only when you want to give a okay. We want to give a read-only access to the value, guys. This one is only useful when you want to give a read-only access to the appropriate value. Understood my point? When you want to give a read-only access to the value, this is going to be. Okay? Guys, you can access values like this also. We can access values like this also. How? Observe this, eh? Observe this. Without writing int, look at this, eh? You can write like this. This is much simple, see? You get the same output, guys. Tomorrow we have ASP.NET class, huh? Because who said you? Are you guys clear? Like this also we can access the values. See guys, suppose I want to get access only to particular values. I want to get access only to ID, subject, and salary. Listen all of you carefully. I want to get access only to ID, subject, and salary. If you want to get access only to ID, subject, and salary, if you want to get access only to ID, subject, and salary, you can either go for overloading a deconstructor overloading, guys. You can do deconstructor overloading. I want to give access only to ID, subject, and salary. Are you guys clear? Deconstructor overloading. I've overloaded now. So now, guys, look. ID 3, subject 3, salary 3. Understood, huh? But again, this is going to be a headache. Why this is going to be a headache? Tomorrow, I want to get ID, name, and designation. If I want to get ID, name, and designation, should I write another deconstructor or not? Or if I want to get ID, name, and designation, should I write another deconstructor or not? Again, the same hell. What hell? Are writing n number of deconstructors, 32 deconstructors in a mix and match combination now. Same problem, guys. 32 deconstructors. Are you ready? Without doing that, we have an option, guys. Watch it. I want to get ID, I want to get a name, and I want to get a designation. Guys, listen. I want to get ID, I want to get name, I want to get designation. Okay? I want to get ID, I want to get name, I want to get designation. And guys, I don't want a subject and I don't want salary. I don't want subject and I want salary. So where you don't want, simply use an underscore like this. Without writing overloaded deconstructors, you can simply do this. It's the easiest option, see? Understood my point, guys? What you don't want, just simply use an underscore there, that's all. I want to get only ID and salary. I want to get only ID and salary. You want to get only ID and salary. Only ID and salary. Okay. ID 5. All this what you'll do? Underscore. Salary 5. ID 5. Salary 5. Are you clear, guys? These are the various members. These are the various things what we just have. So we covered all the things here except events. We covered all the things except events, right? Except events, we covered all the things. Events we'll be learning in the GUI programming, guys. We don't come across it here. We'll be learning about the events in the GUI program. Okay? Let me stop it here. We'll continue tomorrow. Bye, guys. We'll continue tomorrow.
The recording has stopped.
I said you talk to Ram Babu when will ASP.NET batch starts.